What's up, YouTube? It's your coach. Got the man person there delivering. Day 8, quarantine, a little bit of rain here in Miami, which is a good sign. Please continue with the questions. Continue with anything. Subscriptions, we love. We love again. Thumbs up, thumbs down, comment, everything. This sit down, super special. Pepi Gomez, AROD'S best friend, Alex's partner in ARODCORP, a guy that's grown up with Alex, that has seen every single spectrum of the best in high school, minor league baseball, professional baseball, the ups and downs. A father, kid is a star in 2 sports, baseball and football. Very, very, very interesting trajectory, talking about travel sports, talking about eventually high school play, stuff like that. Awesome sit down. I recommend watching the whole thing. Great dude, very honest and very educational. It's your coach. And now, here's a video of me talking with Pepi Gomez. Let's go. You're one of the few guys that have sat with Warren Buffett. You've sat with Jay-Z. You've sat with Coach K, Pat Riley. What do these guys have in common that have them winning at that level?
Passion.
Passion.
And it has no monetary value attached to it.
I'm turning dreams into reality. In the lab with the formula and chemistry.
And here we have, and I've always said this, a guy that is probably the most unique situation in sports around, because there is nobody more influential in South Florida sports than you. And you get to do it in 2 sports, because you're in football and in baseball. And on top of that, you're best friend of probably the greatest baseball player of our generation. So you've seen every single thing evolve. For those that don't know you, which is few, introduce yourself, man.
How you doing? My name is Pepi Gomez. I am a proud father of 2 children. My daughter Valentina, who's 14 years old. My son JJ, who is a phenomenal young man. He's a great student and he's a multiple sport athlete. And I've been married actually this Saturday for 18 years with my beautiful wife Vanessa. And my best friend is Alex Rodriguez, which we own this business together called ARODCORP.
Well, today's my birthday. So it's a great day for me to be here. Pep, from the beginning, baseball, how did it start?
Baseball, started like it starts for most of us. We're of Cuban descent, and as you know, our parents, especially our dads, and our ethnicity is so passionate about the game of baseball. And as a young kid, especially back in those days, back in the 70s, as soon as we were able to crawl or what we thought was running, our parents, especially our dads, threw a bat, a ball, and a glove, and let's say, son, let's go play baseball. I was very fortunate that my dad was very involved with us from the very beginning, and in a short period of time, from the age of 8 years old, we were blessed to be part of the holy grounds in Dade County of the Boys and Girls Club, which has produced, many, not only major leaguers, but guys in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And I was soon introduced to who I call the John Wooden of baseball in our community, which is called Eddie Rodriguez El Gallo.
Gallo meaning rooster in Spanish. The funny thing about that, Pep, how baseball has evolved from those times to now. And we've talked about that a lot before. The good things now, the bad things. What do you think?
I think the worst thing to hit on the bad things right now is that we're retiring our kids. And I saw MLB put out an initiative with Mookie Betts saying don't retire your kids. And not only baseball, but basketball, the only one that you can't do it is football, because you can't bang for 365 days out of the year, even though people are actually trying to do football, year round, which I think is crazy. But I think what, the parents are doing to their children is that they're just retiring them. And parents who don't understand the game and who don't understand development believe that if their child is not playing baseball year round or not playing basketball year round, they don't have a shot. I think that, when you ask me what is wrong or what is different, I think it's our parents. I think that parents nowadays are making decisions with their kids' extracurricular activities in a very negligent way. I think they're pot committed by the time they're 7, and they feel that they have to be on top and helicopter that child in their sport and what they're doing 24/7, and I think it takes away from the development of an athlete.
Pep, what's the difference between a football parent and a baseball parent?
So the difference between a football parent and a baseball parent, I guess there's two sides to that question. Let's go first to the game, right? In today's game, you have travel in baseball,
Right.
and you don't have travel in football. So parents' expectations are a little bit different. You probably only have that parent in your face for 6 months out of the year as opposed to 12 months out of the year. The other difference is that, the game of baseball has become very analytical, and so has that parent. So that parent believes now that they need to analyze that child, they need to analyze that athlete, and they need to get them a hitting coach, get him a fielding coach, get him a throwing coach, get him a mental coach, and do all of the above before the kid can read and write. That football parent understands that for 6 months they just have to get him to practice, and that's where it starts and that's where it ends.
And that's where it ends. That is interesting. Your career, how far did you go in baseball?
I went as far as my team did. I was always the coach's son.
Yeah.
I was terrible, but I was always the best dressed with the best gloves and had the best players around me. So I would always go as far as my teammates would take me, which led me to my professional career. Even though I wasn't on the field, I've been able to be on a float to celebrate a World Series with the New York Yankees. And I always say one day I'm going to write a book that says how to hit 696 home runs without taking a swing.
That's the book right there. Let's talk about that now. You've had the shotgun seat with Alex's career the whole time. You saw him before even Westminster. Talk about that, because everybody thinks that he was that guy from Little League. What was his evolution that you saw?
Now fast forwarding 35 years, when I really look into his career and his development from a child to high school to the major leagues, basically early on he was never the best at anything, but he was very good at everything. But where he was the very best, and he continues to be, even as he retired and went into business, he's busier than ever, is he was always the hardest worker. He was always infused into the process and not the results. He's always been very process driven. So now as an adult, I understand when Alex, was getting to the practice field earlier than everyone and working on his fundamentals, when he would go, to middle school and he would get to class all sweaty and nasty because he was there an hour earlier throwing the ball against the wall, working on his fundamentals. So what I've learned about Alex in both his professional baseball career and his professional business career is that he's all about the process. And it's always been about the process. It's always been about the fundamentals. It's really always been, when you look at travel ball as opposed to development, it's always been about the things that come for free and the individual itself. Right. Instead of attaching, which I think is what's hurt youth sports a lot, attaching, a monetary
gain to
everything. And that's what it's become.
You're one of the few guys that have sat with Warren Buffett. You've sat with Jay-Z. You've sat with Coach K, Pat Riley. What do these guys have in common that have them winning at that level?
Passion.
Huh?
And it has no monetary value attached to it. It all starts with passion because it starts with self. And then it just goes into your work ethic and wanting not to be the very best per se, but to be the best version of what you can be and understand your capabilities. And if it's being the 12th man or is it being the superstar, everyone has to be on the same page and engaged to that common goal. So when you mention, Warren Buffett once told us, it was one of the best advices I've ever taken, is when I buy companies, I don't buy businesses, I buy people. So right away, he was very team driven. When, the first time I ever met Coach K, I was blown by him, because he said something that was very interesting. He said, on this team, when you play for Duke, if you can't give your teammate in a 2-second comment how you feel about him, then you can't be on this team. That leads into people being able to be transparent, and for people to understand, productive criticism. Those guys were all phenomenal guys, but what I take away from all those guys is passion and work ethic, and they were all great learners of what they do. They never stopped learning. They always brought up learning. You take a guy like Warren Buffett, who for many years was the richest man in the world, and he never stops learning. He owns from Sherwin-Williams, which is a paint company, to American Express, to oil companies, and he's so diverse in all his investments, but yet he continues to learn every single day. And very important, all those guys, they don't drink their Kool-Aid. They want to get better every day, and they're extremely humble in their approach.
That reminds me, one of the best sayings that you taught me was, know what you know and know what you don't know. How do you apply that? Because I'm sure you right now, I think before I got here, I think you were like on a tournament call or something. How do you apply that? How do you at this level now try to learn more, try to stay humble, even though I know it's very hard?
What I've learned as an individual, as a husband, as a parent, as a friend, as a colleague and a partner, is the minute it becomes about self, you're done. I often tell him, son, be humble. It's very hard at an early age to understand being humble. It's very hard at an early age when we're dealing with our kids for them to understand success. Because how do you really measure success when you're 8 or 9 years old? I often tell you, it's hard to gauge parents because, when you're a kid and you're playing coach pitch and you have 15 guys on the field, and the parent might think they're playing baseball, but is that really baseball? When you have a 40-year-old pitching to an 8-year-old, and then when the ball's hit, all you need to do is basically stop it on the end pile, throw it in, and by the time the ball gets into the infield, everyone's raising their hands. You don't know if they're cheering or if they're part of the game, and the ball stops.
Yeah. Which we didn't have that when we played.
We
did have a 40-year-old throwing, but there wasn't the raised hand situation. The game wasn't that dummied down for success that creates a false result. And then now, because of social, everybody wants to videotape that and they post that. Look at little Jimmy. He's 7 years old. He went 3 for 3 today.
Second base, which
turned it into yeah.
Because the kid didn't want to touch the ball because the ants are still on it from the ant pile, and before you know it, that parent shows that video to another relative who says, "Oh my God, there's a world of potential here. You have the next Hank Aaron," and they take him. And from that time, then Jimmy now is 7 or 8 years old, and he's going to his coaches, and they're driving him crazy. And then comes Jimmy that they're playing against, the Westchester Orioles, and that day Jimmy happens. The sun is hitting him, and he hits a ground ball to the pitcher, and his career is done.
Yeah.
Or Jimmy is at school, and he meets a friend who plays football, and now Jimmy wants to play football, but no, because he has to play baseball year round.
Right.
And I think that's a problem. But going back to what you were saying about being humble, I think that's the key. I understand parenting now more because now I understand what I didn't listen to or what I didn't do when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And even though that I think every household evolves, right? Like, I think my father became more sophisticated than what my grandfather was, and I think at some point I'm more sophisticated than what my father is, and I only hope to God and that JJ is more sophisticated than what I am, and it leads to my grandchildren. You must remain humble at all times. I never let, I've been very blessed and fortunate with JJ. JJ's had a lot of success both personally and his teams. You know, he's won a lot as a kid. You know, I think I told you this, but JJ has played 71 football games in 5 years, and he's lost 3. And he had never lost a postseason game in his life.
Wow.
And they've completely dominated as a unit. So last year we lost in the Super Bowl. And ironically, I had you talk to our football team the year before.
The year before.
And if you play back that video, you told them, I don't want to talk about your Super Bowls. I don't want to talk about your touchdowns. I want to talk about when you guys lose, or when you fumble, or when you lose or make a bad play that hurts your team. And everyone in that room, including parents, were looking at you like, what is this guy saying the week before the Super Bowl? And people just didn't get it. And that's where our connection is. And you going back to Alex, that's where I understand. You know, Alex does a lot of public speaking, and he says, I'm 5th of all time in striking out.
Yeah.
I'm 5th of all time striking out. That means that with the thousands of baseball players and Hall of Famers and people who have played this game, there's only 4 guys that have struck out more times than I have.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when you said that, it was a teaching moment for me and JJ, because I told him, son, I've always told you, don't take success for granted, because you don't know when it's going to be taken away from you or when you're not going to have it. And 2, forget about the 4 Super Bowls. Those are already in the garage, in the closet.
Yeah.
Now worry about the first one you're going to get after losing one. How are you going to lead? And look when it's happening to you. It's when you're a little young man. How are you going to face adversity? Are you humble now because of that result? Now understand you should have been humble all along and worked a little bit harder to deal with that. Be a better teammate. You know, take practice serious. You know, understand that at a snap of a finger, you're not a champion anymore. Do you have anything to fall forward on? Because often people have, well, do this so you could fall back on something. No, fall forward. What does that mean? Where are your studies? I told him, you'll always be a champion to me. You know, knock on wood, my son's been a straight student his entire life and carried on a great social life, carried on a great extracurricular life. But I want him to understand the importance of being humble, being a good person, having strong faith, and understanding that there are things in life much more important than an athletic result.
That's awesome. Pep, you talked about, is it 18 years of marriage?
18 years of marriage, 23 together.
Okay.
God bless my wife.
Okay. Now, how in Miami and traveling all over the world, advice for dudes that want to have that kind of marriage, that kind of longevity, any advice?
You know, my advice always starts with love what you do. You know, love what you do. I've been very fortunate to experience a lot of special moments. I often tell people, you know, my 2 absolute favorite things in life is my marriage and being a father. You know, both to Valentina and to JJ. You know, I've been blessed with 2 incredible kids. I've been blessed with a beautiful wife. You know, in this day and age, it's very hard to keep a marriage together because they give you the easy way out. I think that's something that our parents did a lot better than we did.
Yes.
People work through stuff, but we live in a time-sensitive, you know, society.
Right.
You know, social media, everything. You get a text, people expect you to have a reply before you even finish the text. They send you an email. If you don't email a person back within the next 10 minutes, then you're not
They take it personal. Yeah.
So, my biggest advice to that is be passionate of what you do, and when you make a commitment, stick to it, and understand that what makes a marriage and what makes fatherhood is the tough times, not the great times. When you're going through great times, value those times, but work even harder on what you do. You know, and the respect factor. I think it's very important to respect first yourself and then the ones around you.
2 more questions, Pep. Your faith, man. Where does that come from? How did you get that? Was that your parents brought that to you? Is that something you got during your travels? Where does that come from?
So faith is huge to me. It's something that I inherited early on, not even knowing I was inheriting it. As many of us have, I had that Cuban grandmother that lived with us from the very beginning, who was bigger than life to me. And no matter what I did wrong or how I did it, or if I got spanked or if I didn't, straight to that room and everything was taken care of with that little old lady in that badagasa. So early on, you know, if people understand our Cuban heritage, you know, we have the San Lázaros and the de Cobres and the Azabache, que Dios me bendiga. So early on, my grandmother was very strong in her faith. And, you know, before going to sleep, we used to pray in Spanish, the Our Father and the Hail Mary all the time. And you know, before a big test, she would give me the estampita of San Judas Tadeo, and she would tell me to read it. Right. And it's always been part of my life. And then as a 7th grader, I went to Belen. And there it was a more defined thing because we had to go to mass as a school every week. And I've always been very faith driven. At the same time, I got in trouble at Belen, and I was designated for assignments. We're talking about baseball. And at that point, I prayed more than ever before my dad got home, and I didn't want to get in trouble. But then a huge part of my life changed. I was blessed to go to what I think is one of the best, you know, institutions in our community, which is Christopher Columbus High School, because it balanced life for us. Yeah. It took, at the time when our hormones are all over the place and we're growing through puberty, it took girls out of the classroom and it focused on being a man and giving you foundation, which you didn't know was happening till you leave such a special place. And there at Columbus, you were able to grow as a man. You were able to strengthen your faith. Most of our teachers and most of our mentors at Columbus were Marist brothers. So we were able to understand the importance of being a man and what we needed to do to grow as an individual. And God was always in the middle. And then, you know, during college, you lose a little bit of touch of that because it wasn't there every day like it was in high school. But then when you come back home and you grow as an adult and you start building your family and life starts taking a turn in certain situations that you need to deal with, you soon find out how important it is to be connected to God. And then, you know, when you just start receiving blessings, whether it's, you know, to be hand in hand with a partner like Alex and a best friend and live out many, many dreams, and then you're blessed with a family and kids, more and more you go to sleep every night thanking God for all your blessings and understanding how important it is to have that foundation in your life.
Last 2 questions, because I thought about something there. This encouragement, I'm sure you got promised a lot of things. Pep, we're going to do this, Pep, we're going to do that, and it didn't come through. How did you deal with that, man?
You just have to get up and go every single day. You know, it's not what you get or what you do, is how you deal with certain situations in life. And you keep, you know, getting up and going. The way you and I met is because of the game of baseball, right? The game of baseball teaches many things outside of athletics. I think one of the most astonishing things in baseball is that you fail 7 out of 10 times and you're a Hall of Famer.
Right. So that and a multimillionaire, which might be more important to some people.
And a multimillionaire. I think when you talk about discouragement, the best way to deal with discouragement is to manage your expectations going 100%, into things. 100%. Just be able that you're prepared, and once you're prepared, you understand that things might go left or they might go right. Yes. But always manage your expectations.
Pepe, what was your favorite number?
33.
You were 33.
33.
All right.
33.
So before you open that, that's for you.
Thank you.
What has, we're going to open that on camera though.
Yeah.
What has Rawlings meant, not only to you, but Alex used it his whole life. What does that mean?
So Rawlings is like, to me, there's certain things. It's like saying Mercedes-Benz. It's like saying Ralph Lauren.
Right.
Rawlings is something that's always been around and has always had an incredible impact in the game of baseball. You know, the Major League Baseball is a Rawlings. Since I could remember, you know, when we used to watch guys like Nolan Ryan, he was bigger than life. He had Rawlings across his thing.
Right.
The Wizard of Oz, which was to us the baseball bunch.
Right.
He was a Rawlings guy.
Rawlings,
and
yeah.
then when you get that first Heart of the Hide, it's almost like a huge graduation.
Yes.
So there was the Heart of the Hide. But personally, I really remember loving Rawlings. I don't know if it was around when you were coming up, but Rawlings came out with this glove. 2 gloves were huge in our childhood. As a position player, it was a black glove with a huge red R on it,
okay.
that everyone wanted because it stood out. And then the catcher for the Detroit Tigers, Lance Parrish, had a pitch black mitt with fluorescent orange.
Yeah.
Fluorescent was cool. Now you see fluorescent.
Yeah.
So Rawlings has just been around forever. They've been incredible in the game. And, you know, some of our best have used it. And for Alex, it was from Cal Ripken to Alex Rodriguez. So the best continue to use it.
This here is a customized series. Explain about it. This color segue is from Rawlings did a special element series where they did sand, fire, wood. This is water.
So this is incredible. I mean, I think more than ever, due to social media and due to marketing and what everyone does, it's almost what you use, whether it's your cleats, your bat, your glove, it's become a part of you. And there's a personal relationship with your equipment and what you do. And nowadays, it didn't happen for you and I, but now you get to customize everything. You can customize your batting gloves, you can customize your sneakers, you can customize your bat, anything. And I think it just adds to the personal relationship you have with your equipment. My son is 13 years old and he's been after me forever. I just didn't think it was the right time, but Dad, I want to personalize my equipment. I want my numbers on my cleats, I want my numbers on my thing, and I want a new glove. It's funny, my son has used the same baseball glove since he was 9 years old.
Wow.
And going back to your personal relationship, I would buy him new gloves and he would always relate back to his glove.
That blue Rawlings?
The blue and white, the two-tone Rawlings. And then until he said, I'm ready to
let it go, huh?
And here we are.
And then he customized the 13, he customized the patch, the 13, the silver outer lighting. Why 13? Is that because of Alex?
13 is because of Alex, you know. And for Alex, it was Dan Marino, even though it was, and then it was passed on to JJ. He has very, very large shoes to fill. But and then the color, as you know, it's the colors of our program. And he put this together after talking to you, and it looks phenomenal, and I look forward for him to use it.
Yeah, we're going to break it in. We're going to do good.
Yeah.
Pepe Gomez, I can't thank you enough, man, for what you've done for me, for the relationship we've had from the beginning. You always saw something in me. I don't know what it was. But you always saw something. You've always been, man, like a big brother to me. So I can't thank you enough for that. Man.
You know, one thing that I want to say about that, Coach, it's simple. What I saw in you is the same things I see in Warren Buffett, Mike Krzyzewski, Michael Jordan. It's just passion.
Right.
And it's passion where it really comes from.
Right.
You know, you've lived your passion and now you're paying it forward. And I think you're doing an incredible job. The minute I met you and everyone I discuss your story, I say this kid is going to make it. Because whenever you're that passionate about something and whenever you get it this early, the sky's the limit.
All right. Can't beat that. It's your coach with Pepe, the man. See you guys soon.